Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. The first phase of Lok Sabha elections across 102 Lok Sabha seats and 21 states and union territories is over. The average voter turnout has been around 60%, which is three notches below than what it was in 2019. But according to the manner in which the caste equations have played out in various states, is it an easy going for BJP? And what are the prospects for India Alliance? That's the question which everyone is asking. And we'll try and understand all of this from a veteran journalist who's been traveling across. He's just returned back. Political editor of Hindustan Times, Vinod Sharma, is with us. So thank you so much for joining on the Federal.
Yeah.
So the first question is, of course, the first phase. Whatever has happened, like the voter turnout has been low. There have been reports of intimidation, violence, which of course, it happens every time during the polling. But the reports of boycott also this time have been seen across in Tamil Nadu, Pilibhit, in Nagaland. Uh, what would you really make out from this first phase, which has just got over?
Well, it's a dip test. You see, and frankly, it's just the whole process has just started, and the way the program and the schedule has been drawn up by the election commission leaves much to be desired. There are many states which have been, sort of halved into, or sort of quartered, or sort of cut into small pieces. Four constituencies going to elections in one day, another for a week later. I mean, it is, I think, a very unfortunate situation. I don't know why they have done this. What has made them do that? That having seven phases for certain states and doing it in two phases in certain states and a single phase in certain states. Uh, I don't understand. I mean, I see no logic except for the argument which the election commission may come up with is about logistics, that it suited their logistics better, and that this way they think that they can hold the elections in a more fairer and transparent manner. But the transparency of the elections is in any case before the election commission, and let's not comment on that. I think that the fact that caste identity remains paramount in this country shows that religion, faith is important, but it is not the decisive, it's not the final impulse with which a voter goes to the polling station. This is, I think, the caste identity which overtakes any other identity in our country, whether be it linguistic, be it religious, be it parochial, be it regional, whatever. Secondly, I think that the the weather conditions in which elections are being held. I've just come back from Rajasthan. I mean, the heat is oppressive. Life, in any case, slows down in these areas during summers and can virtually come to a grinding halt if the heat goes up, if the mercury goes up. And that's what is happening. And that is why voter turnout is low. That is why the celebration, if at all it is a celebration, it's muted, it's tepid, and I see little enthusiasm on the ground uh, in terms of choosing the candidates or the parties of desire. It's an election which is being held because it has to be held. It's a ritual which is being performed. That's what one felt in the first phase. I hope that in the upcoming phases, the enthusiasm will go up and the campaigners would also warm up and get a little more energized.
Right. But you were talking about the weather conditions, which were equally oppressive in 2019, but there was a certain enthusiasm right from the start. Now, why is this enthusiasm lacking? Is it because of too much of exposure of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, with him, repeatedly saying Modi ki guarantee and nothing about BJP? So probably, the voters have also got used to it, and they also think that there's nothing new for BJP to offer. How would one look at that?
It could well be that familiarity breeds, I don't want to use the word contempt, but familiarity breeds a degree of familiarity which makes you see through the person and come to a right conclusion about his persona. But that's another debate. We can hold it at another time. Uh, I think that there is no Pulwama this time. 2019, a major trigger for public outpouring and public outrage and public sentiment was the Pulwama episode, which was which was ghastly and which led to the death of so many of our very brave Jawans. The irony is that we don't really know till now who brought in that quantum of, explosive, which blew up their convoy, and nothing has really been done in order to take that investigation forward. And if somebody asks that question, you would be told that you are being pro your enemy, the country's enemy, and that you are raising doubts about the sincerity and the bravery and the integrity of our security forces. But the fact remains that in a democracy, transparency has to be given precedence over so many other factors, as has been held by the Supreme Court in the case of the electoral bonds. It has been declared uh, unlawful, unconstitutional, just because it did not meet the standards of the people's right to know.
But of course, you said that there is no Pulwama this time in 2024. But what are the other factors on the basis of which you could say that 2024 is not like 2014 or 2019? Because there are issues which are outweighing other things like price rise, inflation, joblessness. Then you have electoral bonds, the verdict which came out very recently on 15th of February. And the narrative which has been built around and which very well shows and reflects is that this tag of corruption is now getting stuck on BJP, and Prime Minister in his interviews justifying that. So, do you think that the wind is slightly, or I would say the sentiment is against the BJP on the ground? You were traveling, so you would be able to tell us better.
I think the euphoria is ebbing out.
Okay.
The very strong sentiment one could tangibly feel pro BJP in the previous elections, that tangible touch is not there. It is not to say that, it is not to suggest that it has simply disappeared. Yes, there is support for the name Prime Modi. There is support for the Prime Minister, and in certain constituencies, it is not as much the candidate as it is the Prime Minister's name which is selling for the BJP. But it's not a happy situation that here there you have a set of candidates who are unpopular, and people, whoever may vote for them, may vote in the name of the prime minister. Now, is this a presidential election or a parliamentary democracy? That's the question, and that is why people are raising questions about the BJP's plans, furtive plans, secret plans to rewrite the constitution or overall the constitution. If they and that is why they are seeking such huge numbers of majority by way of parliamentary numerical superiority over the opposition. Now, it is unprecedented for any political parties to seek 400 seats in a house of 543. Why? Is that your idea of democracy? Is that your idea of accountability? Is that your idea of having the voices, having the voice of the entire nation reflected and articulated in the highest temple of democracy, which is the Lok Sabha, a house which we elect every day? Every single voter has a stake in the constitution of that house. And how on earth can a political party make an appeal to the voters to pulverize the opposition? It is unprecedented. It is undesirable in any democracy. And I hope the Bharatiya Janata Party reworks its appeals in the subsequent rounds, because in the first round, the reports that we have been getting, that appeal has boomeranged. It's not worked.
Right.
It seems it's not worked. It may work in certain other states, but the fact remains that in a democracy, the opposition is as important as the government, because stronger the opposition, the better the government.
Absolutely. And also, Prime Minister also urged the voters to come out and record numbers. But when I saw Mallikarjun Kharge's tweet, he said that come out and vote against hatred and to save the democracy. So, what I want to ask you, sir, is that the narrative which India Alliance has built up to save the constitution, save the democracy, and here you have a prime minister which is calling for 400 plus and 370 plus for BJP. Now, how do you think that the voters would take this comparative narrative? On one hand, you have India Alliance, on the other hand, you have a BJP.
You see, two things. First of all, to be honest, I mean, I respect the Prime Minister for the position he occupies. There is no other sentiment except respect that I can have for a Prime Minister, regardless of who is the person. But the initial phases, the first phase of the election and the tenor and tone of the Bharatiya Janata Party's campaign has been very disappointing and disheartening, especially the description of the opposition's manifesto as a manifesto of the Muslim League. Now, I'm sorry I read through that manifesto twice over, and I'd like to be educated as to where is it talking about the Muslim League. If talking about the rights of minorities is talking about the Muslim League, I'm sorry, then somebody has grossly misread the Constitution of India.
Absolutely.
Because the rights conferred by our Constitution are as citizens of this country, not from which faith are we coming, from which faith you come, or from which faith I come. Just because I happen to be from the majority faith and you happen to be from a minority faith, you are not a lesser citizen than Vinod Sharma. Your rights are as strong and as equal as of any other citizen in this country. So
No, but
I
you see,
think that I think
yesterday,
that I think
yes,
that the election commission should have taken note suo motu of this statement, comparing the election, the manifesto with the Muslim League's manifesto. I mean,
right.
but the Supreme Court. I mean, I'm sure the election commission is occupied by literate people, and I'm sure that they go through manifestos with a fine-toothed comb. Haven't they gone through the manifestos? I
That's
think
right.
that here the election commission should also be put in the dock. It's not doing its job properly. And this is not the only statement which is, I think, the unexceptional, exceptional statement which has been made in the negative sense, which has come from the ruling party. I have many other examples I can give but I don't want to make it appear as a tirade against the ruling party. I'm saying that uh, that what you write in your manifesto is remembered less by the people compared to what you say by word of mouth. And whatever you say by word of mouth should be very cautiously delivered. It should be very smartly and cautiously phrased. It should not be phrased the way certain statements have been phrased in the initial phases of the election campaign. Um, and I'm sorry that things have come to this pass. Uh, if institutions of the state, as distinct from the government, and here I mean the election commission, and here I mean the courts, and here I mean the even the investigating agencies, and the National Commission of Minorities. These are the institutions of the state, and these institutions, if they are not independent, if they not don't enjoy the kind of independence that they deserve to enjoy, then it will greatly weaken institutional democracy in our country. And this country cannot be run without institutional democracy in the event of a political party getting 400 seats.
Right. But
That
Mr.
what
Sharma,
is this? What
yesterday also Prime Minister said that should Danish Ali be allowed in Parliament while he was addressing a rally. He made a mention of Danish Ali, that should he be allowed in Parliament. Now to raise a question like this, how far is that justified?
if he is allowed to contest election? He has to be allowed into parliament, or you're going to have a screening test After written test, you're going to have a viva versa, an interview of these members of parliament. I'm sorry. I think that this is doesn't smack of, it doesn't smell of what the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, promised when he was entering Parliament for the first time on being elected the Prime Minister, on being the Prime Minister elect, when he said that he believes in cooperative federalism, competitive cooperative federalism, and that he is the Prime Minister of Team India. Now, poor Danish Ali, what's his fault?
Right.
Danish Ali was called names by a member of parliament. They themselves have denied the ticket this time. What kind of a narrative is this? The person who abused him on the floor of the house and got away with it has now been denied the ticket. And the question is being asked of Danish Ali whether he should be allowed into parliament. About Danish Ali, it's very unfortunate. And I think that whoever makes such statements, such claims, and it's not a criticism of an individual. We are discussing something very important that concerns the future of this country, which is parliamentary democracy, which is a free and fair election, which is ensuring a process that's participatory in nature to the best possible extent. You see, participatory democracy is more important than representative democracy, because participatory democracy continues before and after elections. And that is hearing contrarian voices and acting as per their sentiment if it is found to be genuine. If you shut yourself away out from such noises and voices, then I think that there is no scope for participatory democracy in our country. Representative democracy is incomplete democracy, so long
But
as it is not participatory.
right, absolutely. But when you hear Prime Minister repeatedly saying things like these, talking about Indian Muslim League, then he mentions about uh, Danish Ali. Do you think the Prime Minister, or rather, I would say BJP or the Prime Minister, are they losing the grip of the narrative in 2024? Because first it was Ram Mandir, then they'll bring in nationalism. Now, yesterday, Prime Minister was seen talking about that these clouds of war are hovering around and you need a stable government, and only BJP can provide a stable government. So, the narrative is changing every day. But does it show at at the moment that BJP and the Prime Minister are losing the grip somehow? I wouldn't say that they have lost it, but are they in the process of losing the grip now?
I would desist from making that observation. That is on test in the upcoming elections, in these elections. So whether they have lost the grip or not, only people will tell them. But I personally feel that Honorable Prime Minister, with all respects for him, uh, he he should be everybody's Prime Minister, because he's the Prime Minister of India. He's not the Prime Minister of just the Bharatiya Janata Party. ये हमारे देश के प्रधानमंत्री हैं, हमारे सबके साझे प्रधानमंत्री हैं, और हम चाहते हैं कि वो हमारी बात भी सुने, उन लोगों की बात भी सुने जो लोग कुछ कुछ दूसरे अंदाज में कुछ कह रहे हैं. And I think that sooner or later he will realize that uh, that it's important to do that. But insofar as Ram Mandir is concerned, certain political parties not attending the Pran Pratishtha, and certain other parties taking exception to Pran Pratishtha, making with the argument that Pran Pratishtha is like trying to put a soul in a half body. Some people, scholars of religion, Hindu religion, have taken strong exception to that, and even gone to the extent of saying that it may prove to be inauspicious. Now, I am not one who believes in, these kind of observations, but these observations are being made, and there are a number of people in this country who have trust and faith in Karam Kand, in the right rituals being performed. So I think that any responsible government, when it is uh, in the middle of preparing a national monument, so to speak, which the Ram Mandir is believed to be, is said to be. And because it is said that it's after 500 years that Ram Navami has been celebrated in the in the Lord's abode. Uh, I'm not willing to have arguments over that because it's somebody's faith and I respect that. What the point is that this is one of the things which people may want to happen in our country because there are people, so many adherents to this faith in this country. And no faith should be, one faith should be given precedence over the other because the state has no religion and every religion is equal in the eyes of the state. So every religion is equal in the eyes of the state and every religion is important. And the state has no religion. But in this case, increasingly, one gets an impression that's antithetical to the spirit of the Constitution. The state is acquiring a religion, which is where one worries. Because many people who don't have really the grip of what the Constitution says by way of its spirit, is that it says that the state has no religion and every religion is equal in the eye of the state. So it is for anyone to show one religion as greater than the other is ultra virus of the Constitution, the spirit of the
Absolutely.
Constitution.
But
So, that is why I feel that this discourse has to be corrected, and the responsibility to correct the discourse is greater on the ruling party of the day.
But, sir, as far as the discourse of BJP is concerned, do you think that they are confused somewhere, or they are very, very clear about the line they want to take? Uh, Hindutva, of course, Ram Mandir narrative was there for some time. Then people started saying that no, the Ram Mandir thing is not working at all. Now, which card of BJP or which card of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is really working? We can't see that big narrative, as you already initially pointed out, that there is no Pulwama this time. So, but what is that one big issue on the basis of which BJP looks confident that they will win? Is it only Modi ki guarantee, or is it something else?
That's the welfareism, the welfare aspect of Mr. Modi's schemes, and which has led, according to the Honorable Home Minister, which has led to the creation of a new caste, which of Labharthis. So, in if one were to mock at it, the freeloaders are the constituency which is moving to the appeals of the ruling party. Well, you see, you can't. I mean, there is India is a welfare state, and India has to look after its citizens. The governments have to look after the citizens of India, and that is why railways are very important because those are run on routes which are not profit-making routes, but that is required for travel for poor people. Similarly, many schemes are formulated since independence by successive governments to help the poor to reach them the basic sustenance which they require to survive. So there is nothing wrong in that. But what I dislike is the tone. What, for instance, is meant by Muftanaj? Whose money is being spent by the government? The taxpayers' money, no? Your money and my money. Even the man who has a bare minimum income is a taxpayer because every single thing that he buys from the market, he has to pay tax on that. He's a taxpayer. So nothing comes for free for the citizens of this country. And whatever is going to them, if the surveys of the economy have revealed that these people need to be supported, that there has to be relief for them for a certain period of time, then so be it. There is nothing like free. And this arrogance of any government to say, "Ki, we are giving you free," you are giving nothing free. It is every citizen's right to have it, and it's been bought from the money which is being paid to them by the city, by to the national exchequer by the citizens of this country. So let this debate end that a new caste of Labhartis. He's created a new caste of Labhartis. I'm sorry, this caste of Labhartis always existed. It's another matter that their size must have expanded. And if their size has expanded, then this only means that the economy hasn't worked, the wealth hasn't been distributed, the wealth that was generated hasn't been distributed the way it should have been distributed in order to place people in a position where they don't require this relief. But let's not have that argument. My simple question is that this welfareism was always there, पर वो एहसान की अंदाज में ये बातें नहीं होती थी इतनी कितना अनाज दे दिया इतना वो कर दिया हाँ इक्का दुक्का स्टेटमेंट होती थी सरकारें क्लेम करती थी they used to claim that we have done this for the people. No, but this is being repeated incessantly, and I think it's quite demeaning for the poor people.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it demeaning that why should the poor people of this country who need to have their share of the wealth which is being generated on account of the economic reforms which are there in this country, and people want to come and invest here, or if not in the at least in the portfolios they want to invest, if not elsewhere, and the market is booming and the market players are making big money, and that we are told that we are going to be the world's third largest economy in due course. Now, may I ask that if we have this kind of wealth, then why is this slogan being there, is there of Labhartis? You see, the first to initiate this welfareism came from the free meal scheme in Tamil Nadu. Those people looked ahead of their times. Kamraj started it, and others followed it. Chandrababu Naidu talked about direct benefit transfer first. Others picked up the idea. So, functionally, it is cooperative federalism. But in terms of who wields the power, it is not. In terms of who has access to wealth, which of the states has access to wealth, it is not. And the Supreme Court has to sit in judgment on the borrowing limits of states, or whether or not states has been adequately compensated for disaster that struck their lands. So that there is a problem. And there is also a problem of the way the governors are behaving. So there are very many serious issues which should have been discussed debated in the narrative in the run-up to these elections. But even if it is being raised by the opposition, it is not being transmitted further by very obedient media. And obedient media is a death wish for democracy. We need a media which is defiant of authority, reasonably defiant. I'm not saying defiant for the sake of it, for the heck of it, but we need a media which is reasonably defiant of authority and which makes the government accountable, any government accountable, not just at the center, but anywhere in this country, makes authorities accountable, and even other institutions of the constitutional institutions accountable. If Supreme Court's judgment, if we are a country where the Supreme Court's judgment can be discussed and criticized, but unfortunately, we are becoming a country where a government's decision cannot be discussed and criticized as openly as that of the Supreme Court. So, is this a happy situation for democracy?
But, sir, we were talking about issues. You've raised very interesting points in your remarks. But what I wanted to ask you was that yesterday, when this polling was happening, there were several quarters which reported boycott. Say, for example, in Pilibhit, several villages had boycotted the election. In Nagaland, in Tamil Nadu, there were quarters which are boycotted. Now, and many people were saying that that boycott happened because of the local issues. And this time, even opposition has ensured that the entire election remains about the issues, the muddas, not Modi or not any other overarching issue which BJP has tried to project. So, has the opposition, what do you feel? Has the opposition succeeded in revolving this election around the muddas, the issues, and make it highly localized, which seemingly is not looking looking like a very happy situation for BJP?
That's what I'm saying, that the opposition, by way of the issues they raised, wanted to stay closer to the electorate. And the Bharatiya Janata Party, the way they are running their campaign, it's like it's not a communication, it's not a dialogue, it's just one side speaking from the stage. In a democracy, the democracy is the best form of dialogue. And thereafter, the decision of the Janardhan, that is Janta, God, that runs governance, जिसके नाम पे governance होता है जी, वो they are the people who take a call, that which of the two sides is talking sense and is thinking of making our life comfortable. So I think the Bharatiya Janata Party, uh, if it thinks that La Bharti alone is an issue which will see them through, may not be that close, that it may not be a very correct assessment of the situation. Because, I'm talking very cautiously, because we are in the middle of elections and I don't want to come across as a propagandist of the opposition. We as journalists have to be the propagandist of the people. And as a propagandist of the people, I think that the debate has to be on employment, the debate has to be on inflation, the debate has to be on incomes, the debate has to be on opportunities, the debate has to be on health, the debate has to be on the health of democracy, the debate has to be on the conduct of governors who are interfering in the functioning of the governments we elect. So, unless debate takes place honestly, at least during elections, how can there be an honest debate between two elections? Because what is more important in a democracy is to have an honest debate between elections so that governance is fine, it's robust. But that debate is not being permitted. And unfortunately, that debate has not been robustly allowed the way it was allowed earlier over the past 1 decade. That is something on which I'm willing to argue with anyone. Nobody is saying that there has been a clampdown on free speech the way it was during emergency. What is being said, that restraints are being put, that there are danger signs on the road which have been hoisted for the people to read in order to dissuade them from talking honestly about issues that concern them. So, uh, if between two elections, the media is so badly compromised or terrorized or, made to submit before the government of the day, then the debate between two elections is just not happening. And even if it is happening, it is hugely choreographed and compromised in favor of the government of the day, be it the center or be it the states.
But whatever issues you've just pointed out, that the debate should be on the incomes, jobs, health, all those issues have been raised by the opposition. So does opposition have an edge this time in terms of the narrative?
No,
Of course,
whether you see the opposition has the credibility, whether there has been an appreciable rise in the credibility of the opposition and the people's trust in it. You see, voting is basically propelled by trust more than anything else. And if you think that the alternative is not good enough, then you go for the same old stuff, the same old people, the same old faces, which you've been voting for over the years. But this time, I think that there are some people, a section of the electorate is going to make an intelligent choice. They're going to make intelligent choices, and it's not going to be the same trend that we saw over the past two elections. Those past two elections, 2014 election was an election where the opposition was totally distrusted, and it had not really covered itself with any kind of credibility or glory. And the second election, as I said, was the Pulwama election. Now, this election is being fought uh, equally in terms of the points of talking points with both sides. And the most important talking point, and which perhaps has hurt the image of the government, is the electoral bonds scheme, which has been, rendered honest, rendered unconstitutional, declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of India. And there are also questions about the EVMs. There are also questions about the institutions like the Enforcement Directorate, the CBI, and IT, income tax, and others, that how they are conducting themselves vis-a-vis the opposition people or people who are not with the ruling party. This is a legitimate uh, charge, I mean, which needs to be addressed. Government should address this charge and prove it wrong if it is not correct. But people are increasingly believing in this. Uh, and many people believe in it. They may not sympathize with the opposition, but they are believing in this. And there are many people who sympathize with the opposition and are believing in it. And there are many people who are with the government, but they are also believing in it. So, and secondly, there is, if I'm not wrong, that you see every political party has a set of reasonable people in their ranks. The BJP too has a set of reasonable people in its ranks. And according to from whatever little I have gotten to know, they are deeply concerned about the way things are turning. So it is not a happy situation within, even for the ruling party. And on the whole, the polity needs to adumbrate, needs to put its, the participants should need to put their heads together, because this cannot continue for anymore. And if the 400 slogan comes true, uh, then there may not be an opportunity, many people believe, to correct the situation, because then that situation, the changes which may come about, will be irreversible in many ways,
No,
unless,
but
of course,
sir, I just allow me to interrupt you. But do this 400 slogan, do you see it coming alive? Do you see it coming true at all? Because there are questions of, there are several states where BJP has already maxed out, and to better their performance, the chances look very slim. So this 400 slogan, is it just a tall claim made by BJP, whereas the realistic situation is something different? What do you feel from the ground, sir? Is 400 slogan possible?
there's no tax on claims. I mean, if you make a tall claim, it's not like a tall bank account, no? But one must, when political parties uh, make tall claims, an intelligent voter should try and find out as to how many positive points in terms of delivery on their promises is there in their banks, and whether that account is tall enough or not. देखिए, वादा करना एक बात है, वादा निभाना, उसका जो बैंक अकाउंट है वो देखिए ना, उसमें कितना फिक्स डिपॉजिट है, उसमें कितना क्रेडिट पॉइंट्स हैं। तो वादा करने पे तो कोई टैक्स है नहीं जी, और वादा तो सभी कर रहे हैं, वादा तो विपक्ष भी करता है, विपक्ष ने भी किया है। एंड बट मेरा ये मानना है, मेरी पर्सनल ये असेसमेंट है, दैट फॉर अ चेंज, and it's a refreshing change given the recent track record of the Indian National Congress, that their manifesto reads much better and more creative this time than that of the BJP.
So,
This is
sir,
my
one last.
assessment. I may be wrong.
Right. All right. So this brings me to the last question, sir. That which way do you think? I mean, those are very cliched question, very premature to ask, also because the first phase has just got over. We have another 6 phases to go. But are we in a position to say that which way is the wind blowing? I mean, does India alliance stand to gain advantage, or is it just BJP and Modi?
No, BJP and Modi, BJP has an advantage. There is no doubt about that. But I would venture out to hazard one guess, just one guess, that much will depend and on what are the BJP's numbers in Maharashtra, what are the BJP's numbers in Bihar, what are the BJP's numbers in West Bengal, what are the BJP's numbers in Karnataka, what are the BJP's numbers in Telangana, Tamil Nadu, where they are saying that they have made major inroads. Uh, so, you see, it's not just UP where the Ram Temple has come up. And Ram Temple, indeed, people are talking about it. But whether it's a decisive issue, whether it is the issue which alone is, um, you know, mobilizing people in favor of the BJP, that's very doubtful. It is people talk about Ram Temple, but that issue alone is not the guiding factor. There are several other issues, which includes the image of the candidate, the kind of campaign the party has run, and also that what is which political which polity are we talking about geographically, whether it is south of Vindhyas or whether it is north of Vindhyas, whether in and even in north, which state are we talking about? For instance, if you talk about Rajasthan today, it may not appear as promising for the BJP as for instance, Uttar Pradesh may appear. So I have not been to Uttar Pradesh. I don't know whether it's very promising or not, but it is believed that BJP is pretty strong in Uttar Pradesh. So uh, it all depends on what situation are we talking about. But I think that the states where the BJP has peaked, well, anything that goes up has to come down. And at least in Rajasthan, I think they have to come down. And by how many number of seats, I wouldn't like to hazard a guess, though I have a number, but it's not proper to do it because the second half of the state is yet to go to polls, and it's not proper for any analyst to be making that kind of a claim. One can only say that opposition is in a contest, and so is the ruling party.
Right.
It's not a one-way traffic.
Yeah, it's not a one-way traffic. Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma, for giving those
Yes.
beautiful insights from the ground as well, and your
Uh,
sense what you got from the election. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.